Happy Wednesday, people. It is May 31st, 2017, and we are on a Facebook Live. We're on a Men's Development Excellence call, and we're talking about relationships. We're calling it Relationships Mumbo-Jumbo because it's such a crazy language that you need to learn, and there's really so much that you have to learn. Now, first off, relationships are going to be one of the most important things of your life, whether they're friendships or sexual relationships or your marriage and so on. It's so important because it literally means all the people that are involved in your life, and you want to be able to have them, yet it gets crazy. And we're actually talking about the sexual relationship here that gets super crazy because men and women communicate in so many different ways. And we hear so much that, man, is based on a facade, an image, a front, fear, what happens if you lose or get hurt. We hear that over and over again with relationships, and I hate that. Our groups hate that, and we try and get to the truth of things, which is sharing the real experience of what's going on and what works is the solution and blah, 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 all that sort of good stuff. Now, if you like these things, like I said, we're streaming in a lot of different areas. Now, if you're listening to this on iTunes, Stitcher, if you're watching it on YouTube, you can actually watch the video, download a free PDF that's connected to it. You can also get on our free board and interact with us and be a part of our Facebook Lives for this. This is crazy. And then get just tons and tons of nonstop 24-hour support. But just be a part of this awesome thing that we're doing because we are Men's Development. That's it. And we talk about this stuff. Join up. If you want to pay and be a part of our groups where we talk on the phone multiple times throughout the week. In fact, in the month of June, we're going to up that big time. So right now, if you pay our membership fee, which is $55 a month, you can get our Wednesday night call. You can get on our Sunday call. They go all day. There's so many coaches that are involved in it. I am not the only one, but I'm on for a ton of time of that. You can sign up again on that free stuff link down below. Of course, that's not the free thing, but there's tons of free stuff. Man, be a part of it. Super cool. Support our shit. Be a part of it. You don't need to look anywhere else. And all the things that you hear on this podcast are all things that are answered on our call that come from questions the guys ask, and we workshop them. But here's the thing. Relationships. Man, relationship is something that is so important. It's one of the most important things in my life. And for years and years, I had bad relationships. So it's really cool to have great relationships now. Not only friendships, but in my romantic life, my sex life. And I've been monogamous for X amount of time. And there's plenty of podcasts that we have on that. But that's not because monogamy is any better, but because there's certain times in your life where those things fall into place. And it's fucking awesome, man. But it's hard as fuck. Having a relationship like a marriage or a sexual intimate relationship is going to be one of the greatest challenges in your life for so many reasons. One, because it reveals so much about you and it exposes so many different fears, but also to understand and get somebody else is so difficult. And what's so cool about our men's group is now there's more people, well, not more, not the majority, but there's more and more people that are signing up for our Men's Development Excellence program that are married, that are in relationships, that are adding so much value to this exploration. So what we were talking about is we were talking about a guy's relationship. In everybody's relationship in a different area, he's been with his girlfriend for 3 months, and you start to go through the different parts where reality hits. You get in certain fights. The good sex stops being something that is the thing that's carrying it, and different things come to fruition of that relationship, and they have different meaning. Now, what men may value might be things like, how much time I'm literally spending, or the checks and balances of things, or maybe you have more of an emotional tone. But the thing is that's going to get miscommunicated and misinterpreted. Couple things that I just want to state, and I probably should have said this at the beginning. The two most important things that I got out of actually this group and for other people within this group was this advice: that women fundamentally, what will make a relationship work if you're a man with a woman is that they want to feel secured and they want to feel cherished. They want to feel special. And what a man wants in a relationship that's so important, and if women could just get, and not only get, but communicate it to men, would be that men want to be believed in. They want to be believed in, supported in their purpose. And now we see this taken advantage over and over again. Like, fucking my relationships will be like, I believe in you too much. You're going to get lazy with it or something like that. Or you're too much of a baby, or you want blah, 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 blah. And, we all know this. We all see this. We all get this pointed out by the opposite sex. We have women tell us that we want to feel special, that we want to feel like, we're the rock, that they can count on us, that they can depend on those things. But if they don't feel those things, man, so much comes to the table. And I just want to talk about a few things about relationships and repair that came from my personal experience of having lots of relationships, and also in my most important relationship, which is the one I'm having now, that happened within the group. And man, or that were solved with a lot of the guys in the group. Man, amazing stuff. Dude, guys, you want to be a part of a men's group. If it's not this one, that's totally cool, but you want to be a part of a men's group where you can count on people to not only have your best interest in mind, but also tell you the truth of what happens when these things go down. Because, Jesus, man, I'll just go, we were talking about a lot of like, a lot of these like men's, hey, we're a men's coaching program, and you hear other men's coaching programs talk about fronts and facades and personas. And I remember there was a guy who was really into a lot of the like red pill or men go their own way type stuff, which is all great if you want to be a part of it. But if you take that shit too seriously, dude, you got to live in reality, people. You got to live in reality. But I remember when I was going through relationship problems, this guy sat there laughing, and some of you guys know who this is, but he started laughing. I almost kicked him out of my car, but because my thing had gotten resolved, and I was telling him, he started laughing. He was like, ah, ha, ha, ha. It was like the weirdest, most deranged, like psychotic type of thing. This laugh was like, because I wasn't laughing. Nobody else was laughing here, but he was laughing about this. And he was like, what you should do is you should tie her up. You should tie her up for like a week and just feed her and fuck girls in front of her, like invite them over. And this is what works, man. This is what works. This is how you do it. This is what you do. Like women write about this on the Red Pill Forum. The women that are a part of it say that it's good and it helps them. And I was like, hey, dude, I don't know if you know this, you should know this, but I've had a lot of sex with a lot of people and I've done shit like that. I'm not going to do that to my wife. And that's not, do you even know what happens when that happens? Because I've done that. Like I've done stuff like that and I get it. And I've done it in a way where it can be for power, which is kind of like what you might be saying. And I've done it because people have wanted to do that and but like, because that's what you did in your shitty marriage that didn't work, right? Right? Yeah, anyway, so you get a lot of these conceptual things. Now that's an extreme, but this was actually told to me. This was crazy. This was told to me to resolve communication. That somehow communication with somebody that I love, that I went into that relationship falling in love, couldn't be resolved in normal communication that had us fall in love for years, that had to take this extreme angle into power. And man, and again, I have a lot of experience that women in sex and power and me have a long, long history. And I remember actually in my previous relationship that also lasted almost 5 years, but right on the edge of 5 years, we did that thing. We did that. And that was one of the worst things that I could have done in that relationship because we had a lot of tools of communication. But we went on this road and a lot of power stuff came in. And when you get into that sort of thing and you don't fully manage it and commit to it, and hey, I'll be the first one to say, I didn't fully commit to it because that's not who I want to be. And if for you to function, you have to commit to something that may not be you. Anyway, whatever. You get a lot of bad advice. And so that's some of that advice that's based on concept and not experience. Of course, it sounds good. Of course, when you do that, if you were to tie somebody up that you're in a relationship with and fuck other people in front of you, they would submit to a certain point. And if they submit fully in that moment, then they might submit for a couple weeks. But that builds up a lot of resentment, a lot of doubt, a lot of other stuff where you have to really commit to a certain lifestyle if you're going to be doing those things, even if you assert power in some other ways. So when you get down to it, some of the things that actually healed and helped a big conflict that was happening in my relationship was that concept, not of the power, but of that, look, when we're under duress, women want security. And what does that mean? And how can you show it? And how can one hear it right now? And they want to feel special. They want to feel cherished. They want to feel unique. But how can you communicate it and show it in that moment? And that might be different for somebody just starting out in a relationship. That might be somebody that's 3 months into a relationship. That might be somebody a year into a relationship. That might be in a relationship where you have kids and the sex is worn off. But it's a fundamental thing that is so important. And as a man, what's so important is, at least for me, this rang true, is to be believed in, man. It was great to have that sort of faith. If you give me a little bit of that, and I have some ambition, man, I'm going to take that and run with it. It's a fucking amazing thing. And so how could I do that? Now, a lot of these people will say, You don't want to make your girl feel special if she's not giving it to you, because then she's just going to take advantage of you. And this was an interesting thing. It was like, God damn, fuck. I'm right currently in my household. I'm the breadwinner. My wife we just had 2 kids. So there's a lot of work on her end. She's working her ass off with that. But I'm the one making money. And one of the things that got brought up by one of my friends is like, man, if you just make more money, she's going to get that much more used to spending it, and you're going to have a bigger divide. Now, see, these are one of those things that when you get advice from people who aren't in that situation, there's so much concept in it. When you get advice like, oh, well, if you keep giving her that stuff, she's going to take it and run with it. If you keep giving her that, she's going to get knocked up and hold it over your head. Those things can all happen, right? People can take advantage of you. But when you give something, you should never be afraid to give. You should never be afraid to do. You should never be afraid to show your desire. You should never be afraid to spoil somebody or put them on a pedestal, so long as you do it, right? But if you're doing it to get a result from them because you're afraid of seeing something, yes, you're a bitch. When I see like all these guys complain about how they got fucked over from their lives, it's like, no shit, man. I can see you're an inexperienced, weak person that doesn't know how to stand up for yourself, that went and gave everything and believed in love and da-da-da-da-da, because we all believe in love and find out the reality of it. But you believed in it to a point that it affected yourself because you didn't have a backbone in order to stand on, that you didn't have a support of who you were, that when you were giving something away, it was really, hey, I'm not giving this away because I care about you. It was that I'm giving this away because I feel like shit, because I am less than. And so when that gets flipped and you get burned and you say, wait a minute, I got to make it out of here. I am getting burned. I'm fucked. My life sucks. I did get screwed over. Everybody knows it. That when you walk away from that, Jesus Christ, man. Of course, you're going to say, I lost my power. I need to get my power. I need to fuck women. Women are dumb or mentally ill or whatever it is that you say in order to tell yourself that you bought this lie because you don't want to take any responsibility of it. So, man, what's so interesting about relationships is, yes, man, fucking give. Make her feel special. But make her feel special because of what you see that's special about her. How did you fall in love? Something that gets said all the time, date your girlfriend. And it's such a great, thing to say. And Madi was saying that to me tonight. It's a hard thing to do. Man, it's a great, great concept. It's a great concept to tell somebody. It's a great concept for somebody to talk about and for people to imagine. But man, to actually learn that, well, I don't do it by dating in a cookie cutter template. I date who she is, who I fell in love with, what we love to do. And that might take some time to get out, especially if it's been dormant for a little while, to build that up, to make that feel special again, to actually cherish that. And then my job also as a man is to build that security. And of course, these rules, can bend and reshape and go to everybody else. It's not, that's great. That's an absolute for everybody. But man, like if you can provide security, and if you can provide security emotionally, security for, your daily routine, and of course, security with the financial side and all the other sort of stuff too. If you can help stabilize that, man, that's a great thing. But security one-on-one, or security number one, is that she can count on you as her man, as somebody that's strong for her, not in the image of what is supposed to be strong, but what is there for her, man. It's your relationship. It's not your relationship via the rest of the world and what they think. It is your relationship. And that's so, so fucking important. One of the other things that I got, especially that I've learned so much from this group, from my group, the one that I created, man, that was so fundamentally valuable about my relationship and being able to stick with it, is that in so many relationships that you have, hold on, I'm just going to mute here because there's some background shit. Is that in so many relationships that you have with things, you're going to fight. You're going to get caught up in drama. Man, You do not need to argue in drama. I always want to argue in drama. I always want to. I get pissed off, or something happens, or one thing gets said and it gets misinterpreted, or maybe she's having a bad day and I'm having a bad day and she's meaning something completely else and I'm meaning something completely else. But man, it's button heads everywhere in every little corner. And if that drama's there, and if I'm jumping to anger, because an angry person always has to be right. But if I'm jumping to anger, if I'm jumping to judgment, if I'm jumping to something that has to be solved, if I start obsessing about it, man, that's a good time for me to be quiet, to pick up the phone, one of the guys on the board, one of the guys that I know that I can count on, in my best interest, that has some wisdom of real life and real experience with people, and I can call upon them, and not talking from concept, not talking from any of these different things. And I can say, hey man, here's what's going on. I really want to say this, but maybe I should chill out. Man, I do that all the time. And that's great, because guess what happens is I chill out and I get to a point where I can communicate, and I can communicate a little bit better, and all the reasons why it pissed me off I can articulate a little bit better, and I'm probably not pissed off about it. But if I'm angry, I shouldn't talk. And here's the other thing. This was the literal best piece of advice that I got. The best is this guy Doc, who's a part of our groups. He actually said, Steve, if everything that's coming out that's shit, like he's like, look, you're in a relationship. There's a foundation of love behind that. There's always a foundation of love behind that. If you fell in love, there's a foundation of love behind it. And they're so angry that anything you say and anytime you interact with each other, it's just toxic. It's just mean. It's cruel. It's angry. You're pissed off. Somebody's mad at you. They're resentful. They're contemptuous of you. They're angry, right? Then just sit there and listen. And get it to a point where it can run out of gas in front of you. It'll be impossible because you want to argue back, you want to talk back, you want to defend yourself. And when I actually did this, I fucked up. I defended myself a little bit, but I kept backing away because I kept listening to Doc, because Doc is just a genius. He's been a part of TSL for 5 years now. And just an amazing guy. He's a coach himself. It was some of the best advice, but he just said, let it run out of gas. Say, what did I do wrong? Or tell me just so I can know. I'm not trying to say it's going to sustain or that it's not over or whatever. Tell me what I can know, and just let it run out of gas. And man, it ran out of gas. It ran out of gas. Ran out of gas. And it moved into communication. Took a couple hours, but man, that was one of the best things. But kind of what I want to just point out in all of this is that there's going to be points in your life that you don't know. And when you're emotional or when things aren't really fully communicating, the worst thing that you can do is act on it. And almost to the point where if there is some emotional chaos that's an emergency, it's most likely not enough of an emergency that it can't wait an hour to take yourself out of it, talk to some buddies on the phone, get some good advice, cool down, get some perspective, and go back to what you need to do. Because your job as a man is not to be right, is not to win, is not to have power. But your job as a biological human being, as a man, as a soul, as a personality, as an expression, as who you are in every sense of the being. You know, from your cells, from how you work in the world, to even your own expression, is to be able to connect to the world and live within it. When your world has somebody else right next to you, connection is what maintains that. Not power, not force. Those might be elements that come into the picture at certain times, and I'm not denying them, and they totally are there. But you got to be able to communicate that. And if you are communicating and connecting without your expression, without being you, and sometimes we have to fake it a little bit. Sometimes we do have to work a template because we don't know. But it's always got to come back to you, because if it doesn't, it has no worth. It has no meaning. And it's not there. So look, it's always an amazing thing whenever people ask me for relationship advice. You know, it's very specific dependent upon what's actually happening. But the best advice that I could always give is that, man, stop looking for a quick answer and start interacting with a group where you can build a foundation so you don't need a quick answer all the time. That when the shit hits the fan, you can deal with it. And that not only can you deal with it during the hard times, but in the easy times, you can build a foundation of really, really what you want and who you are. Now, of course, there's some people where it's like, hey, divorce is your best option. Splitting up is your best option. Going back and sowing your oats is the best option. But you want all of those options to be a choice and not a reaction, an expression of who you are. Click those links down below, the free stuff links, and it will take you to a page where you can watch the video of this. You can also join the forum, the Facebook group that's free, where you can interact and talk with guys, and I would welcome you to. And of course, you can sign up for the Men's Development Excellence course, which is just great. $55 a month. Man, so many people have that. Take the load off. You get a call on sex and relationships. You get calls on accountability. You get calls, things where we work with each other on all of these things that are so important fundamentally as man. And it's one of the best fucking things you can do for yourself. Make your life an expression of your choice and who you are as a man, and not a reaction to who you're supposed to be or the pain that you're running from. Thanks so much. Talk soon.